Hello and welcome to the Soul Sync podcast. It's me, Jason Paul. It's lovely to have you back. And if you're new to the podcast, a big welcome to you. The Soul Sync is a podcast for anyone on a journey of awakening, those asking deeper questions about life, death, energy, and the unseen world. Now, let me tell you, it's also for the curious, the seekers, and those who've had experiences that perhaps you just can't explain. So whether you're developing your own spiritual gifts, exploring consciousness, or you're simply drawn to meaningful soul-led conversations, this is the space for you. So this episode this week is a really good one. It's one I actually loved. I'm speaking to Sarah Tyler Walters. She's a trance medium, a spiritual teacher, and a channel for the collective known as Theo. So we're going to be talking about trance mediumship, surrender, and the evolution of consciousness. Now, there's a bit of a twist on this one, actually, because it comes in two parts. The second episode, released directly after this one, is going to be where I interview, live on the show, Master Chou. Now, Master Chou is one of the guides that Sarah Tyler Walters channels, and I interviewed Sarah. She went into the trance state, and you can actually watch this on the YouTube channel if you want to watch Sarah in the trance state. It was amazing. Across her face, you could just see Master Chou, what looked like an old Chinese man. And let me tell you, it was one of the most difficult interviews that I've ever done. He asked me a lot of really deep questions, a lot of really hard questions where I didn't know how to answer them. And let me tell you, it actually held me to account. But this is a beautiful one because it's so relevant for me at the moment. I've been developing my own sitting in the trance state. And like I said to you on the previous episode, only just recently, I done a whole week course on trance with a lovely medium called Eileen Davis. So I was doing that for hours and hours a day. So this one's a really good one. You're going to love it. It's my interview with Sarah Tyler Walters and Master Chou. Enjoy. So Sarah, firstly, a massive warm welcome onto the Soul Sync podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Well, it's a delight. I'm really excited to talk to you because trance is something that I find so interesting. But before we go into that, tell us a bit about you. And like I said, you can go as far back as you like.
I think early childhood probably is a safe place to start. Pretty straightforward, generalized medium story, I think. Been aware of spirit my whole life. Used to see them as clearly as I see you when I was a kid. Could be quite amusing at times because I couldn't always tell the living from the dead. So that often led to some interesting interactions when other people were watching. It's like, who's Sarah talking to? So I'm talking to this man. What do you mean you can't see this man? He's standing there, because for me, they were just there. So for most of my childhood, spirit were around. I'm third generation maternal and paternal. So there is bits to do with mediumship or psychic development and stuff in the family on both sides. So I was very lucky as a child that when I was talking to people who had passed over, talking to spirit, it was just perfectly normal. Nobody batted an eyelid. It was just always, that's what Sarah does. And it was great because it meant it didn't create any fear. I was never embarrassed about it. I was allowed to just do it comfortably. And then later on in life, I trained at the London Spiritual Mission in mental mediumship, then went on to train at the College of Psychic Studies in trance mediumship, where I've now worked for 20 years as a senior consultant and a tutor.
Wow.
Yeah, quick. In a nutshell.
Yeah. So when you started, developing your mediumship, was it, because it sounds like you were having so many experiences anyway, was it
as
something?
A kid, yeah, as a kid I did. And then there was a pause, as often happens, for lots of reasons. There was a pause. So I came back to it a bit later on in life.
How old was you when you came back to it?
You're asking a lady her age, Jake.
I'm asking you your age when you started, not now. I wouldn't be so rude.
I started training sort of officially when I was 30.
Okay, and it was initially sort of evidential mediumship.
Yeah, because as a child, that's what I was used to. I was used to people who had passed over. This is your granddad, or your mum's here, or, children. I had loads of children. They used to follow me home from school, so that was sort of what I knew mediumship was about. I had no idea about trance, never heard of it, didn't know what it was. So yeah, I started with proof of survival. And it was through that the trance mediumship was coming forward, unbeknownst to me, but known to everybody else in the room. It was like, you're not doing what we're doing. And it's like, well, yes, I am. It's like, no, you're really not doing what we're doing. And that's what led me to find out about trance. And completely spirit did that. Spirit nudged and got other people to drag me places. Sarah's got to go here, Sarah's got to go there. And like a little lamb, I just went, okay, where am I going? So brought me to the trance world. And once I was there and was allowed to do it under the title of it, This is Trance, it was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is home. This is right. This is what feels right. And from that moment on, I just carried on developing it.
What made you fall in love with trance?
It really is that feeling of just being absolutely at home in it. It just feels so right. I teach trance to people now, and I try to convey to them that trance is a vocation. It's a calling. It's a much more deep-seated thing than, oh, I fancy doing that, I'd like to do it, or I got some talent for that, I might. You embody it. I mean, literally. That's
Yes.
the thing with trance. I mean, it's literally, a symbiotic thing. So you have to really write down to your very core, write down to your very soul, be that this is the right thing for you.
When people sort of think that trance is, is there sort of, are you sort of seeing over these 20 years that you've been doing it, kind of common threads on why, people fall into it? Is there a particular type of person who gets more attracted to trance than other types of mediumship?
You have to look at that two ways. You'll get the people who have the calling, who have the prearranged agreement as part of what the soul is here to do in this life, who will have a pull to it. It's almost like a magnetic pull. And they still have free will. They can still choose to not do it in this life if they want to, but the pull to it will be very, very strong. So you'll get half the people sort of fall in that category, and the other half fall in the curious. They fall in the half who think that it'd be great. It's not me, it's them. It must be the purest. This must be the highest. And those are all the wrong reasons to come into it, because you've got to have that desire and need to do it in order to put your life in abeyance. Kind of joke with people, but I do get paid to be unconscious. I do spend most of my working week unconscious. Life is passing me by quite literally. I'm not present. And that is a choice. I mean, it affects everything you do. So unlike mental mediumship, where there's an emotional reward with that. I mean, when you give someone that message of proof to help their grief, to help that suffering, that's an emotional reward like no other. Trance, you don't get that. There's none of that with this. I'm not there. It's not me. I'm not party to that conversation. I can come back and find people with a smile on their face, or come back with them sniveling in tears. And they can be tears of joy, but I have no idea how or what happened to get them there. You have to be able to completely step back, to completely be detached from needing to be involved. And that's something that in modern day life we find much, much harder to do, to be that detached, to be that out of control in that sense. That is none of my business. It's between you and spirit. I'm just going to quietly go off in my corner, and when the alarm clock goes off and tells me time's up, I'll come back.
It's very interesting what you say, because you make a very valid point. There literally is no reward, but I guess should there even be a reward in any sense when you're doing mediumship anyway?
But if you think about most things you do in life, there is a exchange, there's a flow backwards and forwards, there's satisfaction, there's meaning, there's something, you've done a good job because the person has smiled at you. trance, they're not talking to me. I mean, I have people come up to me and go, how's Master Chou? I haven't seen him for a while, as if I don't exist. You know, so I'm invisible in my job, but that is my job. Not everyone can do that.
Where do you get the for Sarah? Where do you get the what's your reward from this? What makes you feel good as a result of it if you're so not there the whole time?
And I think that's why I say it's home. It's that absolute knowing this is what I'm here to do. So my reward is in that much deeper sense of knowing this is absolutely what I'm meant to be doing. And therefore, everything that comes through, all the conversations that Master Chou has, all the conversations that the Oracle has, my reward is knowing I've allowed that to happen without interfering.
Who is Master Chou?
The pictures are behind me. I put them up for you.
Oh, thank you. I was going to ask, but I didn't want to assume that
No, I put them up. So, firstly, just acknowledging both of those portraits were done by Jean Elaney, the psychic artist. So, the gentleman on his own, that's Master Chou. And Chou was Chou the man, and he did predates Christ.
Okay.
The Oracle is a collective consciousness, so the picture of that one is more representative of their energy rather than specific to what they look like, whereas Chou is specific to what he looks like when he walked the earth as Chou. But he's an elderly gent with a very naughty sense of humor, and he's done lots and lots of incarnation. He's walked this human life. He gets it. And that's his thing when he comes forward. He's coming forward to share his understanding of what it is to sit in our skin, to be human, to have that life, to have that struggle. And how can he help you with your life and your struggle, but also helping you to realign with the soul. The soul knows what it's here for. The soul knows how to manifest things for you, knows how to get that all moving. And how do we get those two bits to come together so you have a life of flow and grace?
When was the first time you was aware of Master Chou?
Oh, well, originally he was the Oriental gentleman in the background. So I was bringing through, when my trance work started, as with all mediums who do this, you kind of like have your training wheels. I kind of explain to students that the first one to come through you is not where you're going to end up. You kind of have to build up to it. You have to work up to who is going to be with you for the rest of the time, because with trance mediumship, it's much more like a marriage. So Chou only comes through me. Doesn't come
Why
through.
does he only, and is he the only person that ever comes through you?
No, because the Oracle comes through me as well. So I have two that come through as my mainstay. But you have to think about how intimate it is. I mean, he's coming right into the very core of who I am. As I say, I'm out, I step out of my life so he can do this. That's a very intimate relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have that deep-seated bond of trust for that level of work. So with trance mediums, you will see we're slightly protective of the energies we bring through. So, for instance, occasionally people have said, "Oh, you bring through Chan," and it's like, no, Chan belonged to Ivy Northich, does not belong to me. Mine is Chou. So we give it's a bit like, it's that kind of thing. Like, you wouldn't want someone else saying they were dating your husband or seeing your husband on the side. It's like, no, protect it.
Absolutely not, Sarah.
It's completely mine, and no one else has him. Thank you very much. So it's a different relationship in that sense. So he will be with me now until I pass, and he won't come through anyone else until after I've gone back to spirit. So in the beginning, I was bringing through lots of different energies. I worked with lots of the hierarchy within the angelics, Azrael, Gabe. I was jokingly calling Gabe, and my students sort of look at me because I mean Archangel Gabriel. But I also brought through a collection of other fun energies. I had a barmaid from Bethley Green who used to come through occasionally. It was hilarious. But for a couple of years, I had a Tibetan monk who used to talk through. Never gave a name, but he was the most beautiful energy. And I always knew when he'd come to talk to people because there was just this serene look over their face. It was just like that kind of serenity had just dropped into the room. And when he was with me, Chou was just this oriental guy hovering in the background. Other mediums and people would know he was there. They would tell me, oh, there's this oriental man there. But that was it. Until one day he decided that Tibetan monk had done his job. Time for him to go, and Chou stepped forward and introduced himself to a room full of people and hasn't left since.
Without sounding cliche, would you describe him as a spirit guide to you?
No, I wouldn't, because that's a misuse of the word guide.
Would you, to sort of make this easier for people to understand, how would you describe him?
So, Master Chou is a spirit communicator. He does not guide me through my life. He communicates with humanity to help everybody else but me. Guides help you with your journey. They are for you. That's what they do. Hence the word guide. Chou, like with most trance mediums, is a communicator. Mm-hmm. So he doesn't help me with my life. We have a working relationship, albeit a very close, very deep-seated relationship. It is still a partnership, not that personal side of it. That gives us the boundaries that you need for this type of work. So my personal guides, my personal spirit guides, help me with my life. Chou and I talk about the work we do together because he brings and does his own master classes. The Oracle does lectures, and we need to know what they want to talk about. But no, he is a spirit communicator. His goal is to bring wisdom, insight, healing, help to anyone who wants to talk to him.
Is there ever two-way communication between you and Chou, or is it? It sounds to me, if you're stepping out of the way, it sounds like a one. Okay, yes, it sounds like a one-way communication only.
When he's with me in the trance state, it's one way. He's talking to whoever he's talking to. When we're working out what it is that perhaps he wants to teach or do, then he'll might talk to me clairaudiently to start pointing me in a direction. So I get that kind of nudge of this or nudge of that. So we have a little clairvoyant conversation occasionally, or we'll do inspirational or automatic writing when it comes to actually the descriptions of his classes and so on and so forth. The Oracle and Chou will do that. So they will put it down on paper themselves, the exact wording for things.
It's really interesting. You meant, obviously, like you said, it's very intimate, this relationship that you have with him. How did you, when you were getting in that place of getting up and running with Trance, then how do you firstly trust enough, and how do you get into that state? Because I know myself, I'm struggling to think of myself ever being able to get in a state where I've managed to shut down my own consciousness enough to let another consciousness in.
And that's why I say it really is a calling. It is something that has the agreement from your soul that it wants to do that, because it will then give you that edge, if you like, give you that more natural ability to have that detachment. So there are techniques you can use to alter your state of consciousness, because ostensibly that's what the trance part of this relationship is about, is my consciousness altering its state. So there are techniques for doing that, but some work better than others. Some actually aren't so helpful for trance because they keep the subconscious mind active, which we don't want in this state. But actually, when it is part of who you are, you will find that going into that state, there is a slightly sort of natural rhythm to it. It shouldn't be too much of an effort. You still have to work at it. You still have to find your natural level with it. And that's where the trust comes in, the building the relationship with spirit. And they have to trust you just as much as you have to trust them. So it is two-way. It's a proper bonded relationship in that sense. And that's why it takes years to develop.
Mm. How would you describe the mechanics of one? Because obviously you said there's a number of different ways. Let's go to your perhaps go-to method when you were teaching newbies?
But I don't. I have several. I'll tip into several depending on because there isn't one size fits all.
Yes.
You can work with the breath, you can work with the subtle bodies, you can work with visualization techniques along the lines of what hypnotherapists do, but aiming to take them deeper. Sometimes it literally just say, yeah, just let go. And sometimes a student will just go bonk and they're off, Sometimes just the feel of spirit coming close will be enough to trigger a student to start dropping in to an altered state because it's part of their natural makeup. So there are different ways of doing it. You kind of just have to do a little bit of trial and error with students to see which ones work better for which students. And I said they have to get over their own thoughts and processes about it. The ego is a real pain in the backside. You've really got to have your ego in balance to do this work. You've got to be able to quieten the mind. You've got to be able to sit back in a noisy room and not care at all what anyone is talking about. All of those things take time and don't suit everybody. Not everyone can do it. Curiosity is a real killer for this type of work. If you're busy wanting to know what someone else is talking about, you are not going to let go and step out.
Yes, very true. When Chou comes through, then the messages that he gives, are they more about how to help humanity as a whole, or is he giving personal messages to
Both. So in one-to-one consultations, Chou is all about what you want to talk about. So firstly, unlike a lot of communicators, he won't just talk at you. So if you sit there and go, what does spirit want to tell me? He'll go, we don't want to tell you anything. What do you want to ask? Because from his point of view, is you have free will. And if you aren't willing to ask the question, you're not willing to have the answer. So he will talk to people about what they want to discuss. But in a one-to-one session, his thing is you and your life. So he helps a lot of people who don't feel that they have direction, don't know what their path is, struggling with childhood trauma, struggling with out of balance ego or anxiety. So he works with a lot of people around how to live your best life, how to deal with repeating patterns, things that are stopping you from living that best life. When we come into group work, so that can be masterclass, seminars, lectures, he's even taught his own classes, then that is more aimed at humanity as a whole. And then he's done everything from the ego trap was a masterclass. He loves doing one every year for Chinese New Year. So in February, we did the Year of the Dragon and what that year will hold for you. Then next month, he's doing a masterclass on the power of words and how our use of language can help us or wound us. So it's a really cross section that they will bring through. The Oracle is slightly more broad spectrum, more conceptual slightly. So they did The Art of Being Human, the Story of Incarnation. They probably will step in December when we're doing The Art of Living and Dying. So they do really from the small, right, just like he did a seminar on fear and judgment. He did one on judgment, he's done one on fear. Just understanding how fear works. Right the way through to in December, they're going to do The Art of Living and Dying, talking about the soul's progress through life from birth through to how to have the peaceful ending, So they do all sorts of aspects of what it is to be a human incarnated, bearing in mind you are a soul having that physical experience.
Do you know what? All the topics you mentioned, they just sound so interesting, every single one of them.
20 years worth of recording.
Yes.
There's a lot of content in them too. That's one of the things I think most people come away with when they do sort of listen to Chou is there's no waffle. He doesn't repeat and repeat and repeat. There's practical steps in there. And everything has something where you can go, I can take that away. I can apply that to my life. It might not be right for me now, but maybe in a couple of years' time, they'll come back and listen to the recording again. And it's like, right now I get what he means. Right now I can do it, So there's a wealth of recorded material on my website, along with a wealth of free content on there, because I appreciate that talking to this discarnate being who says he's from pre-Christ. It's a bit of a mind leap for people, you know. But once you listen to him, a lot of people actually just forget the process. They forget that that's what they're doing. They forget I'm a trance medium, and they just listen to the content. And what resonates, they use, and what doesn't, they let go of. And that's how it should be. But there is a lot in there to help you with your life, or about mediumship. We've done stalls. He did a fabulous one on AI and the future of AI. And we had great fun when we did the AI conversation, because I record these conversations with a lovely gentleman up in Coventry who will sit there and ask Chou questions. And we've done loads of these over the years. But when we came to do the AI one, halfway through it, the technology just completely crashed on us. I mean, it's like everything crashed on us. And it was like, okay, I think the AIs may not have been happy. And we had to redo it another week to finish it, because we've never had a technological meltdown like we did in the middle of doing the one about AI. So there's modern topics on there, things that are really relevant, like AI, like the environment and climate change, right the way down to how to be happy.
You know what? I'm definitely going to check it out, because it sounds like there's some of those topics there sound absolutely fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
What is in recent years? What has Chou taught Sarah? How has he shaped your life as a result of, your understanding of humanity and worldly matters?
That's a tough one, because it's part of the work relationship, if you like, for a trance medium, is we have to keep developing personally.
Mm-hmm.
You understand the principle of a glass ceiling.
Yes.
If we don't continue to develop and continue to grow, we put a glass ceiling up that they can't get past with their communication. So, yes, me growing personally, me deepening my understanding of things helps the work. But it's interpersonal, it's that inner reflection, it's my deepening connection with spirit and the greater conceptual idea of that, rather than the mundane, the day-to-day, the material. If anything, I need to stay away from that, because I don't want to color what he talks about. So to highlight that, students always say to me, Sarah, recommend a book. Have you read this book? What do you think of this book? And I have to stand there and go, yeah, don't actually read books. And they sort of look at me and go, pardon? And it's like, yeah, can't really fill my head with lots of other people's ideas. Slightly goes against the whole point of this. So I don't read books on these subjects, because it's his wisdom, it's his information, it's not someone else's. So I have to keep myself clear, in a sense, keep myself slightly empty. So I try not to overly get into things that are going on around the world, so that I don't inadvertently colour or have an opinion that he can't get round, because they have to be responsive to our beliefs and our opinions. That whole free will, that whole thing, this is a partnership. So I need to keep myself kind of sort of stepped back in a way from things, so that I can remain a clear channel for him and not risk colouring or limiting what he can bring forward as information.
That's very, very interesting. How do you live your life then? What is Sarah's life like? Because
6 days a week. Yeah, I mean, I work full time doing this. This is my livelihood and my life. So again, it's why I say that being a trance medium is a vocation, because it affects every aspect of your life. It isn't something that I do as a job. It is who I am. So it filters into everything. Most of the people who know me and know Chou. So there is this slightly odd relationship with how they see me, because, well, they also see Chou. So they kind of see us like a double act, if you like. So having people in my life who only know me is quite rare. Only a few people in my life who only actually know me, who have never seen me work. All my family have seen me work, and support what I do. So they all know Chow. So again, that relationship creeps into daily life.
It's interesting. It's so interesting to you saying about how you sort of try not to get too absorbed with anything. It's a really interesting point. I'm going to ask a personal question now, and you can tell me absolutely to sod off if you like. But how does being a trance medium, with the level of commitment and the fact that it is your life, what impact has that had on your ability to have relationships over the years?
Okay, I see why you led with the "I can tell you to sod off" remark. I'm single, and I have to look at it that I know it's a slightly odd quote, but I always remember this when Princess Diana said that there are three of us in our marriage,
Yes.
and I kind of think, yeah, I kind of get that, except one of mine is dead. Um, so yes, it would be something that would have to be considered and have to be understood because I'm a job lot. You know, wouldn't just be getting me. You would be getting a 2,500-year-old dead Chinaman and a collected consciousness and assaulted other spirits that come with me on a daily basis. So yeah, that's quite a lot for any bloke to take on. But that's
Yeah.
my life.
So I want to come on to obviously trance mediumship is somewhat understood and even feared amongst other mediums. Why do you feel that is?
Because of giving up control.
Oh,
You
okay.
have to give up control. It's completely handing over. And that triggers a lot of people on the trust level. Um, if you think about daily life, the idea of completely submitting to someone brings up a lot of fear and anxiety in most people, especially if you've had any sort of childhood issues, trauma, difficulties in your upbringing. It's going to be even more triggering. So that's
Right.
one reason. The other reason I think is because it kind of disappeared for a while. It kind of got shoved in a cupboard when mental mediumship sort of surged to the forefront. Because you have to remember, trance is originally how all mediumship was done. So once mental mediumship sort of surged to the forefront during the two world wars, it kind of got shoved in a cupboard. And it kind of spent quite a long time in that cupboard. So people kind of had that sort of slightly, oh, oh no, no, I'm not sure about that. Oh, that's a bit creepy. And oh no, their voice changes. And oh no, it kind of had all that sort of slight energy around it. It lost the connection to actually how beautiful it is, how amazing the communication can be, the healing that can come through the words, the energy, the simple presence of having spirit in the space with you. And it became this kind of weird thing that was sort of in a cupboard that people did in the dark and you mustn't touch them. And there were just lots of things around it that just triggered fear. And even today, you know, it's still true. You don't touch a trance medium. When they're in trance, the one thing you should not do is touch them. That still puts up a barrier for some people.
Yeah.
It's hard to get past that if you're not seeing it in every day, if it's not in the mix with all the rest of the mediumship. It's still this slightly weird sibling that's hiding out in the attic instead of back front and center where it should be. But I appreciate I'm biased when I say that. But for me, it should be back front and center.
I suppose anything to do with being in the dark, red lights, cabinets, you know, is always going to provoke some level of fear within people.
We're sitting in a brightly lit room, and this is
Yes.
how I do it. This is how I do trance. No red light, no cabinet. I've
What
even
is the fascination with the dark light? Why are so many people doing it in the
right,
dark?
but the thing is, you have to look at what are they trying to do with it. So,
Yes.
if you're trying to produce physical phenomena, so ectoplasm,
Yes.
apparitions, then you need the darkness. because light does cause a problem. So the darkness, if you want to create phenomena, it is kind of needed in certain circumstances.
Right.
The red light is actually to make it easier for the audience to see spirit
Okay.
rather than for the trance movement. I couldn't give a toss what that was. Right? As long as it's not in my eyes, I honestly don't care. I've done green bulbs, I've done blue bulbs, I've played around with coloured bulbs just for the sheer fun of it. I don't care. I've done trance. Chou has come through in a field with horses and a fox on my lap to have a chat to a group of women about some rescued horses. So quite honestly, you can do it anywhere if you know what you're doing. And if you have a good relationship and you look after yourself and people respect what you're doing, it doesn't need to be in a dark room, doesn't need a red light. The trance cabinet, however, yeah, I do have one. It's at the College of Psychic Studies. They kindly built it just before COVID, funny enough, before me to my specs. And it's there, it's in the room, and there is something rather amazing about the cabinet and how it holds energy, amplifies energy, condenses everything, which when you're a student helps with the work. So it's a tool, it's not a necessity. So as part of your training, working with a cabinet can really help your work. But you don't need it. You can do it without it. But it's kind of fun having it. But it isn't really something you can have in every room of the house. You know, if you're working out of your spare room, building yourself your own cabinet is not that easy. I'm fortunate that the college hired a master carpenter to build it for me. It's permanently up in one of the rooms. I get to sit in it and keep building and working on the energy in it. And after, because we had to put it away during COVID, obviously. So it's been out now for about 2 years and we're starting to now build some really fabulous energy in it. Give it another 10 and it'll be beautiful.
Sarah, I must admit, I really have to get you back on the show to get Chou out and about. I feel that he could offer a lot to our audience. I am beyond curious, I have to say.
Well, as I say, you can listen to some of his stuff on
Yes,
thing
I
and
will
get a
do.
feel for him. I think for me, what I like about Chou is I can kind of throw something at him and say, "Do you want to have a go?" You know, the lady with the rescue horses, for instance, was referred to me by a past president of the College of Psychic Studies because she wanted some help with the horses. So she said to me, "Do you think he can help?" I said, "I have no idea. Let's just have a go." Turns out Chow's really good with horses. Don't ask me why. I have no idea. There must be a past life in there somewhere. But actually, he's really good. And she's been talking to him for 10 years for help with the horses that she rescues, looking at what their trauma is based on and how to help them recover from it. But equally, people have asked me about, would you do a radio show? So I have a dear friend, Leo, does a radio show. Chou comes on and talks on that. And we've even done a call-in, which was like, well, just have a go. I can't guarantee. I don't know what you're going to do. But sure enough, people called in with questions. Chou had a chat with them. And at the end of the session, Leo went to me, "Oh, well, thank God for that." Because honestly, I had no idea whether it would work or not. But what I love about Chou is he will try it. You know, he'll try it.
Go.
Yeah, we do a lot more diverse things that way than a lot of trance mediums do. So as I say, he teaches his own classes. We do someone else's masterclass. He works on Zoom. He works in person. He's run his own courses, and I do mean actual courses. You know, we on the journey of the soul, they were actual courses that he ran. So he wants to help, and he'll try these ways to find the best way so people have accessibility to him in a way that doesn't threaten them, in a way that's accessible for them. And as you say, come to a dark room, no jewelry, no perfume, sit elbow to elbow with a red light on to hear a man talk. Most people are going to freak out and not want to come and do that. Whereas he will sit, we've done him in church, spiritualist churches all over the place. We've done them at the College of Psychic Studies. I've gone to other venues to do it. We do it online. He wants to be accessible. He wants people to be able to get some of that insight. If they need it, if they are willing, if they are ready, we try to make sure there is a place or a way they can find it.
What do you hope the future of trance mediumship looks like? What do you hope for?
As I said, I'm biased. I'd love to see it front and center again. I'd love for some of that fear, that idea that we're all faking it, was shattered. I mean, of course, like any profession, there are fakes and charlatans in the mediumship profession, for mental mediumship as well as for this. There are people who think they are doing it, genuinely think they are doing it, and don't know that they're not, because the teaching and the insight they've been given by other people wasn't accurate. I'd love to see it just all, the myths taken out of it, the bad information taken out of it, to see it back in its position where it should be, which is underpinning. Proof of survival is important when you're grieving, when you've just lost someone, and you can know that they're okay. That is a powerful thing. I've seen it change someone's life. It is an incredibly powerful thing. Yeah. But it's a drop in the ocean of what spirit can do. It is really a very small piece of the work, but it's become the be-all and end-all of mediumship. And everything else has got lost. And it's like, no, it's actually it's just this tiny little piece over here. Because once you know life goes on, once you know death isn't the end, then what? Well, then you come over here and you get all the exciting stuff.
Yeah, do you know what? It's funny you say that, because like in the work you do, for instance, I always think there's so much more that can be done with mediumship, like messages for humanity, kind of like philosophy. There's so much more that spirit can do apart from just deliver messages. And that's actually crossed my mind before, because, I think to myself, like, when I go to see demonstrations, why is there not more in the way of,
No, there used to be.
Yeah, right.
There used to be. If you went to a spiritualist church, it would start with an address, and that address was spirit speaking to the audience philosophy.
Yeah, now it's the medium just talking about a load of old rubbish.
The medium now telling their... Sorry, he's listening. Oh, Chinaman's getting curious.
He is, because I'm asking questions now. He's probably thinking, I want to come out and have a word here.
Yeah, he's just nudging. But yeah, I mean, in spiritualist churches, a demonstration would start with philosophy direct from spirit. And as you say, now that has become the medium telling an anecdote.
Yes.
That's a shame, because
it is a shame.
We're missing out on that wisdom, that insight, that thing that makes you think, makes you reflect, makes you consider and contemplate. And that's all they want to do. They want to make you think, evaluate. Why do I think this? Why am I doing this? What does this mean? Not tell us what to do. That's the other thing. They're not there to tell us how to live our life and to tell us what to do. We have free will. But they're trying to just nudge us back to listening to our inner wisdom, listening to our soul, letting our soul lead the life, letting our soul manifest what we need, instead of ego or fear or trauma, or all three in a combo.
Do you know the reason why I don't go to spiritualist churches, but I do on occasion, is because I actually find them a bit boring. Unless you get a message yourself, you don't know anyone else. And if there's not messages of other things, then I think to myself, why am I going? So I do think something needs to change.
But sadly, that is down to the churches, in particular, who owns the churches and the covenants they put on them, that they prohibit trance. I mean, actively prohibit trance from being allowed because of that fear.
That's such a shame.
I know. Well, the problem is that when you look at mental mediumship proof of survival, I have your dad. He was bald. He died of a heart attack. You either know that's what your father was like or you don't. It's either evidence or it's not evidence, right? It's proof. That's the whole meaning of the thing. It's correct or it's not correct. You cannot say that about philosophy. Philosophy isn't correct or not correct. It's not evidence. There isn't proof in that way.
It's subjective, isn't it?
It's subjective. And that's why they go, how do we know it's really spirit? How do we know it's not you? And actually, you know what? Does it matter if it helps you? If it resonates with you? If it sparks something off in you?
It doesn't matter. I think we've got so well. If we start talking about BS, I think there's so much of a thing that it's evidence, 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 and we're getting so bogged down on evidence, which is important if you are bringing through.
But it has a place, right?
It has a place.
So
yes.
for a lot of people, proof of survival is their first introduction to spirit. But once you've had that, gently moves them over to, and by the way, there's guidance that might come from you. For an ascended master might give you some guidance, or an archangel might give you some guidance, or move along a bit more and you might go and see a trance medium and listen to this wonderful philosophy. Angie in Cornwall, the guy she brings through, Richard, talks about his life because he took his own life. He died from suicide.
Mhm.
And he talks about what happened once he returned to spirit and the fact that there's no judgment and there's no punishment. That's a really powerful message for people who are worried about that. They can talk about their life experiences from that point of view to help people with some of the judgment and some of the worry about being judged, right the way through to Chou, who has all these lifetimes that he's bringing together into one bite-sized piece of information.
The whole point, surely, of spiritualism is to help people live their life on, and maybe that's why the churches aren't doing, a lot of the churches don't do very well, because you go in there, get confirmation that Jimmy is in fact okay, and then that's it. There's no reason to go back again, and you only come back if you want another message from Jimmy.
Yeah. But also, sadly, the level of mental mediumship in churches has dropped. I know when I started, you got evidence. I saw Keith do it once, and I had to sit down. I just was like blown away by his evidence. He had a message for someone in the audience, and the loved one was saying, "Oh yeah, that check you wrote yesterday for £367.12p." And the guy really fell out of his seat because that was exactly how much money he'd written the check for. It was staggering evidence. And now you go in and they go, "Well, I've got a man here. He might be with you, and I don't know. Can you take a tall person?" The quality is also not what it used to be. And that's a I haven't been in a church for a long time because it kind of broke my heart because I was seeing the quality decline. I'm hoping we're turning a corner. I'm hoping the quality is increasing. I know lots of good teachers who are trying to instill that in their students, but also that's the other problem, right? The students don't want to go and work in the churches. And they don't want to go and work in the churches because there's no money in it. And it's like, yes, but that's not the point of doing the churches. The point of doing the churches is you're doing your dues. I did 10 years working on the platforms circuit. That was my dues to spirit. That was my part of it. I did 10 years doing church services. And some years I was doing like 30 services, right?
Yeah.
But also you learn so much about your craft. You get everything thrown at you. I was joking to some students I was teaching yesterday about you have to get used to doing trance in noisy places. Life now is very, very noisy. In Victoria.
Yeah, you're not going to get silent anywhere, really.
Exactly. And I joked about one particular demonstration. So this was a trance demonstration in a spiritualist church. It was in Mitcham, and it was a little hut with a corrugated roof on bonfire night. And fireworks kept smashing against the roof of the church during the whole demonstration. And Chou just carried on going. Made a few jokes apparently about the fact that Chinese fireworks, I'm not bothered about those, and just carried on. That's what doing churches teaches you. It teaches you how to do it under all sorts of circumstances. The person that gets up and walks out, and you're halfway through giving this very powerful message to a person, and they get up to start making the tea. That is doing the churches. It's important. But the good mediums, they're not going into the churches. That's a
Do
shame.
you know what? I think we could talk about this for another hour. Just we try and redesign how it's working for the future of humanity.
When
Sarah.
I talk to Leo, my dear friend who has who's a international medium, does things all over the place, and he's been doing it for a long time, like me. And I do his radio show often, and we talk about it, and both of us say the same thing. As mediums, if we do our job right, it should get to the point you don't need us anymore. That you have so much inner knowing and you are in touch with your soul, you don't need us anymore. Yeah. That's our goal.
It is the goal. Do you know what? Sadly, though, I think mediums are probably more in demand than ever before. I think we couldn't need them more at the moment. Yeah. Sarah, it's been absolutely such an interesting conversation speaking to you, and we'll definitely have to get you back to have Chow on. Thank you so much for coming on. And obviously, if you do want to find out more about Sarah, then just go to the show notes where her website will be there. You can check out these videos like I will be doing as well. But Sarah, would you like to end the episode by leaving us on a final thought today?
Trust yourself. Trust your inner voice. You have a soul and it really does know what it's doing. Use mediums to help you reconnect to your soul, not to connect to the stars. All the wisdom you need is within you. Let a medium just help you rediscover that.
I love that. What a beautiful way to finish the show. Sarah, thank you so much for coming on to the Soul Sync. It's been a delight.
Thank you very much for having me.